Hello, listener. You are welcome to the Sons of the Soil State Affairs on Amsons. This is the governance corner of the Sons of the Soil, and here we have conversations that seek to deepen the democratic experience of Nigeria. This is the first episode, and we are so lucky to have a son of the soil. He has been a mentor to a lot of young people and a public affairs analyst of high repute. He is the one we are featuring on this debut edition. He is no other person but the people's professor. He is Mr. Luka Panpe, or Comrade Luka Panpe, or Ambassador Luka Panpe. Is a man that has many beautiful caps decorating his resourceful personality. So we have him in the studio to x-ray a very key topic, which is governance on the plateau without subvention. The oil prices are crashing and resources are no longer there, so we have to think outside the box. Mr. Luka Panpe is the gubernatorial candidate on the platform of the PRP. And let me just reserve the comments. You'll get to meet him yourself. So stay right here. We'll be back shortly.
Amsons Media Studio cater to the needs of brands, musicians, artists, content creators, influencers, podcasters, and other media stakeholders.
Welcome back. Plateau State Polytechnic. He is also a public affairs analyst. He has made so much mark. Just sit right here as we enjoy the conversation. You are welcome on the show, Mr. Luka Panpe.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Malau. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. So this is the Amsons studio, and we tag this program State Affairs.
That's right.
We are lucky to have you, sir, on the show once more. I'll keep emphasizing that because I know the sacrifice.
That's right. Well, it's really my pleasure to be here and to be hosted, at this a very consequential and relevant program as it is.
Yes, sir. So, sir, straight to the conversation. How feasible is it to run Plateau State without subvention coming from federal government?
Well, before I go into that, in the intro, I was the Director of Advancement of the Plateau State Polytechnic, and in consonance with the provisions of the Electoral Act, which mandates us to resign, 30 days to our primaries, faithfully resign from the institution to be able to pursue a bigger, I use the word bigger carefully, ambition in the true sense of it. So now coming back to the question, it's very feasible. In fact, if it were not feasible, some of us will not even opt, to be able to contest for the position of the governor of Plateau State. But beyond that, prior to now, we've also seen that if you gauged, the relevance of the resources that we have on the plateau, then definitely such questions would better be how feasible it is with the kind of leadership that we already had in this state, in the true sense of it. The feasibility of it within the context of the leadership we've had might have been a very difficult one. But the projection, again, against this backdrop is such a very feasible one. For one reason, let's look at the state of the Plateau. Plateau is the 12th largest state in Nigeria. And when you talk about the economy of Plateau, you can really understand where it currently stands in the true sense of the word. Now, if you take, for instance, based on statistics of the NBS, you can understand clearly that between 2015 to 2018, a total sum of about 138 billion, or that around, has been spent in subvention on the plateau. But again, if you ask the question, how much is that against the internally generated revenue of the state, then you can also understand that we've done badly. Successive governments have done relatively badly in terms of improving on the internally generated revenue to be able to meet up with the deficit. And so budget, which is one of the data institutes in Nigeria, has said that the budget of Plateau over these years has also been on the deficit. And if you also factor in even the 2022 budget, and you are looking at a total sum of about 106 billion, 806 million, then it tells you clearly that what you have on ground, really, with what we have, is not feasible to sustain the state without subvention. And if you look at the recurrent expenditure under the budget, we are talking about 33.37% going into capital expenditure. Then you have about 67.33% that is going into capital expenditure. So to that extent, you will agree with me that with the current system that we have, it is not feasible to survive without, the subvention. But from the projection of what some of us are seeing and opportunities that will open up, as far as opportunities will be given, I think it's feasible to survive without the subvention. When you take agriculture, you take solid mineral, and you take many of the other resources that are still untapped on the plateau, then I can tell you it's possible.
Because I was heading to that direction.
That's right.
How can Plateau leverage on some of its areas of comparative advantage, particularly the tourism, agriculture that you were just mentioning?
And again, let me come this way. I can tell you for free, Malau, that if we commit 10% of our arable land to sugarcane production alone on the plateau, we are going to do a 20 metric tons of sugarcane, which can be exportable. And whatever it is, and you gauge within the confines of our resources that we have also generated from what I gave you initially, I can tell you that Plateau can stand on its own. Go to Panyam, go to Nies, go to Leyte, go to those places. You see quite a number of farms that are producing sugarcane. So if we commit just 10% to it, then I can tell you that we are already good to go. Secondly, if you take our solid mineral deposits on the plateau, yes, we understand the constraints within the context of the constitution, because the constitution makes provisions that anything buried under the ground belongs to the federal government. But again, if you go and look at the operational status of some of these mining companies and quarries operating on the plateau, I can tell you as of 2016, when we did a study, we discovered that we had 21 mining companies and quarries on the plateau here. Wow. And of course, the question you should have asked is, how much is the investment of government in those ones? Mostly they are privately driven, and most of them don't even have the requisite licenses from the National Cadastral Office in Abuja. So clearly, I tell you, if you take what is happening in Companies Rack in Wase, and you take also what is happening in the borders between Barkin-Ladi and Bokos, and you also take what is happening in many other places scattered around Jos North, Basa, Jos South, and so on, you see the larger deposits of this extending to Barkin-Ladi and so on. So these are resources that have been untapped. We can do our own. We can convert our mineral house, which is situated around the Anguldi, and have a manager there who will exploit the opportunities for government investing in that sector. Even if we are going to raise it in royalties, I can tell you that we'll have enough resources to run the state in terms of some of these things. So for one, I've mentioned the solid mineral sector. I've mentioned the agricultural sector, and particularly the sugarcane subsector of the agri sector. Then we have the rocks. You can get micro-concrete tiles from these rocks. We don't need to go elsewhere and begin to buy from China some of these tiles that you are talking about. In fact, we can bring the technology here and see what we can make out of it. It is more than just the talk. We've had government talking about this. No. It's not a political gerrymandering that we've been hearing. Ours is going to be a very practical one that will give value, in terms of some of these resources. What about the potatoes in Bokos, as we're talking about? What about even the granite sector in Kanam? The beans, we can invest in those sectors. If we commit certain percentage of our arable land in practical terms to these areas, I can tell you that Plateau is going to be not just the food basket of the country, but that of Africa as a whole.
Wow, that's quite interesting, sir.
That's right.
Sir, but I would like to get your thoughts on vocational education. You are an academic of high repute,
That's right.
coming from the Polytechnic. Would you say that Plateau has given sufficient attention to vocational education?
Well, to the extent that we have neglected partially some of the vocational institutes from the secondary level in Plateau, I can tell you that not much needed attention has been given. To be fair to successive administration, they have done some bits in those areas. But are the bits enough to score them averagely high? The answer is no. And to that extent, we can say that a lot needed to be done. Now, let's take, for instance, at the secondary level. What about the Bukuru Technical College? Is that not vocational? It's vocational. But what is the budget that is going into that particular sector? What about even there's a one technical call? If, by the time that we begin to look at some of these areas that have also been left comatose without investing much in bringing out the ingenuity among the players within this sector, I can tell you that we've neglected that. Let's take it back to the Polytechnic. The Polytechnic, for example, have a department that is electricals department in the Polytechnic. And if you go and see what they are doing there, part of the power that is generated to power some of the equipment in that place are some of the products of the ingenuity of students and lecturers in that particular sector. Here in Plateau State Polytechnic, Barkin Ladi. And I can tell you for free, why are we not tapping into that sector? We can power our institutions, even beyond the Plateau State Polytechnic, with that kind of technology. All we need is a little support. The second thing I will tell you is that I was involved in the research and assessment committee of the Polytechnic at the time. And what we saw from what our students are doing, they are marvelous. I can tell you that they are using hungry rice, what we call acha, the chaff from this acha. Yes. They are using it to produce bricks. Very strong bricks that are more stronger than the cement bricks that are being produced. They are there in our workshops. But how can we expand this to be able to meet up with our needs on the plateau? It can meet up with the needs of our building engineers. It can meet up in terms of the construction industry. And that is a huge, huge capital that we can retain in the state at the end of the day. Then again, if you take some of the things that our students are doing in the mechanical sector, in the civil engineering sector, I can tell you some of these roads that are being constructed, our students and some of our lecturers are the best in terms of usability of these categories of people to be able to deepen the quality of our roads. We're also giving it out to foreigners in form of contracts at the end of the day. So I think we need to focus attention on those areas. Yes, that's right.
Listener, we have been discussing with Mr. Luka Panpe Yakubu, the PRP gubernatorial candidate on the Plateau. He has been sharing his thoughts, his rich thoughts on what needs to be done to correct the state of things in terms of governance so that Plateau can be the self-sufficient state it's supposed to be. We are due for a short break. We'll be back shortly and continue the conversation. Stay right here.
We are equipped with the facility and expertise to produce music videos, vlog, jingles, live stream, podcasts, voiceovers, motion pictures, documentaries, graphics and animations, among other promotional content.
Welcome back. Mr. Luka Panpe, you are a popular voice on the Plateau, particularly in terms of advocacy and civil society. You are now running for an office. Can you tell us what really motivated you to throw your heart into the ring, particularly in the mainstream politics?
Well, I think clearly the passion to be able to be on the driver's seat is key. It's key. Sometimes you never can see the sight of the driver until you sit on that particular seat. I've been a passenger. If Plateau were to be a bus, I've been a passenger inside this bus for quite a number of times. For over 13 years that some of us have been on active conversation on the media. We've been talking about governance and participation, and it will be a political hypocrisy for us not to also throw our hearts into the ring to be able to participate. We have encouraged quite a number of people, but things are not changing. So for you to be able to see the road clearly and drive well, you also have to be on the driver's side. And I think that is a bigger motivation, the passion to be able to serve. We have also been given, and I'm using we carefully because when I was the director of advancement for about 4 weeks, I was able to deliver in terms of the activities that the office is expected to provide. Whether you are talking about infrastructures at my own level in the institution, we've done that. But I thought to myself, why can't we do a bigger challenge? And what is a bigger challenge is throw our hearts into the ring, see how it goes, contest for the position. If you get the position at that level, then it will enable you to be able to address the issue squarely, because at that time you will have the authority to do so. You will also have the authority of the people to carry them alone and lead them appropriately to a destination that will guarantee security, guarantee the welfare of the people, guarantee endurable quality primary health care, that will guarantee quality roads, not the kind of roads that we've also seen that also last only within the duration of certain tenures of administration. We should be able to have value for money. quality of these services delivered to us. So it is the kind of motivation that jammed itself connivingly with the interests of the people, who also call out that, look, we've had enough of these talks on radio. Governance is not just about talking, it's not just about talking and fluent English. Governance is beyond that. You should be able to throw your heart into the ring, and let's see how you can convert talk into action. And that is the motivation, clearly. And by the grace of God, we've thrown our hearts into the ring, and here we are contesting for that particular position. And by the grace of God, if we emerge, we'll be able to convert talk to action.
So, yes. But I have a concern because there is this notion out there that if it's not PDP, APC, then the remaining parties don't have structures, and no matter how good you are, it is difficult for you to scale through at the end of the day.
Well, I might agree to the extent that mental slavery has been able to attack, the sensitivity of our people. And you will find out that people have already been brainwashed, and I'm using the word carefully to show that if it is not them, then there wouldn't be. But we are also students of history. Do not forget that the greater of today might be the lesser of tomorrow. We've seen it in the First Republic. Okay, what were the political parties in the First Republic? We saw the political parties in the First Republic that contested elections from 1953 right up to 1958 and ushering the 1960 government. Come to Second Republic, we had the NPN.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we had most of the parties at that time. The NPP, for instance,
yes,
they were also popular in their own time. But what happened during the defunct Third Republic? What happened to them? They took the back seat. The Social Democratic Party became popular. Yes.
The bride of the moment.
Exactly. So now you have different 1992-93, the SDP and the National Republican Convention.
Yes.
So again, they faded away, just like the Nokia gave way to some of those non-Android phones gave way to the Android phones today. And I can tell you for free, the People's Redemption Party is older than all the political parties. You have them to all the other 17 political parties. Exactly. From 1978, you know how it metamorphosed into where it is. So it has established for itself integrity. It has established for itself the principles of accountability and transparency. And so if you look at what is happening today, the APC itself that we're talking about wasn't even popular, until in 2015. So again, people must understand that today, and I say it with all sense of responsibility, that our people are beginning to understand and key into the realities. They are understanding that it is not just about the party, it is about the candidate. Who are you bringing on board? If the PDP or the APC brings an unsellable candidate, then definitely you don't expect them to win. Sylvanus, let me tell you something. If you invite commercial sex workers into a contest with a virgin because you want to test their propriety, then I can tell you have already put the commercial sex workers on the disadvantage because already everybody has seen, what they represent in the true sense of it. So we are bringing fresh idea. We are countering what has been on ground to change the narrative so that we will not only remain lunatics within the definition of Einstein's abnormality, where he said if you continue to do one thing over and over again and expect different results, then of course that is, what else can you define a madness at the end of the day? So I think people are getting it right. It is not just about the PDP or the APC, as giant as they are, but I think that you are going to see 2023, by the grace of God, you are going to see crippled giants.
Yes, sir. So, sir, your campaign mantra is Reclaim Plateau.
That's right.
Can you expatiate a bit about the mantra?
Yes.
What does it represent?
Exactly. Ours is a movement. It's an ideology. Beyond just the politics of politicking to politics of governance. One will step up, the space. And what does reclaim means? Reclaim means to retrieve. Something that has been lost is to retrieve. I will give you an example. Supposing your phone is missing, and somebody picked it and announced it, on a radio station, and they say, come with a proof of ownership, okay, to be able to collect back that phone. You may go with receipts, you may go with other items, documents as evidence. Now, what are you going to do? You are going to reclaim your phone. You are going to reclaim your phone. So the idea about reclaiming it's a mantra that we've developed out of the consciousness of what Plateau stands for, the consciousness of the value of Plateau State. Plateau State is the north of the south and south of the north. It plays a very key role in the unity, peace, and stability of Nigeria. Yes, in this country. You talk about entertainment, it's Plateau State. You cannot mention anybody who has had a stint with the entertainment industry that had nothing to do with Plateau. But where have we lost those values to? Where did those values go to? In terms of agriculture, food production, Plateau has provided and supported the food security of not only Nigeria, but the sub-Saharan Africa. Then talk about peace. In fact, at a point, we know that the cliche for Plateau is home of peace and tourism. Talk about tourism. People had to leave their states many, many miles away during the fasting period, far northern states, as far as the Sahel savannah, as far as Sudan, to come to Plateau State, stay in the hospitality industry in the hotels, and do their fasting or Ramadan period on Plateau, and then go back after the Ramadan period. They will buy goods from the building material market, buy all these vegetables and take it. Think about the multiplier effect in terms of the economic value in the state. But we lost those things. So the mantra about reclaiming is to bring back this lost glory. Once we are able to retrieve this, then we can start building on that to see how we can address the issues of insecurity, address the questions of poor welfare of our children, the falling standard of education, the poor primary healthcare services to our people, even the entertainment industry. Look at a lot of our comedians, producers, okay, writers, skit players, and so many of them that are wallowing our streets in abject poverty. With the creativity and intelligence that these people have, the Reclaim mantra carefully is going to harness all these resources and put them into one basket. And like I said during the declaration, we're ready to produce the first 100 millionaires within the entertainment industry alone on the Plateau in our first 24 months in office. Wow. And this is huge for us. And this is part of the Reclaim agenda. And the Reclaiming agenda is going to change the mentality of our people, that it's not only going to be power reserved for a certain category of people who continue to pass it from one person to another. It is an inclusive agenda that is going to bring in the young people, bring in the women, bring in people with creativity, tap those our boys and young persons around the Ahmadu Bello Way, GSM Plaza, bring in a lot of people who have creativity. And this is their government in the true sense of it. So that is simply put what is entirely about this inclusive system of government. Not the one that will bring in the same category of people, the same older generation. Like yes, system. Exactly. Who only think about themselves. And like I said before, that we are the only, as far as my sense of memory is concerned, the only one among the 9 candidates today on the Plateau, with due respect to all of them, that have been donated by the anointing of the people. When you talk about others, you see the question of certain individuals imposing them as imposed candidates and so on and so forth. And of course, Malau, you know, yes, if you donate a goat that it has a rope around its neck to a man on his wedding day and you still hold the rope, then it means that you are the whims and the goat is at the whims and caprices of the man who hold the rope. And so we are not tied by any rope. And to that extent, ours is going to be an inclusive one.
Okay. At the end of the day. That's really interesting. We look forward to when Plateau would have a paradigm shift, I must say. So, sir, what are your parting words briefly to the listener out there?
Well, let me say that the days are evil. Hold on to what you believe. And what you believe shouldn't be swayed by the condiments of resources and monies of those that you will regret giving them your votes at the end of the day. You must think carefully. We're not going to force people to do what they don't want to do. The peanuts that you collect today are like the Egyptians that when you go further, that you see them today, you will see them no more in the true sense of the word. So for me, the parting words is that people should go into this process with their heads and their minds and their heart. Think about these candidates. If I am not good for you, don't come for me at the end of the day. Don't vote for me. But if you think within your heart that you want a paradigm shift, then go for it. And we continue to encourage people to safeguard their PVCs. For those who have registered, safeguard your PVCs and use them appropriately. is very important. It's not enough for you to queue and collect them. It's also more important that you also use them for the right reason. Study, form groups among yourselves, discuss candidates, invite us, and we will come and talk to you about some of the things that we have as far as this contest is concerned.
We are very grateful, the People's Professor, for honoring our invitation and sharing your thoughts on how to run Plateau State beyond the subvention. You know, Plateau should be a state that is self-sufficient.
That's right.
And your ideas have enlightened us and the listener out there. Mr. Luka Panpe Yakubu is an academic of high repute. He was the Director Advancement of the Plateau State Polytechnic, Barkin Ladi, before he resigned to contest for the governorship position of Plateau State, and currently he is the candidate of the People's Redemption Party, PRP. We wish you the very best, sir, and we look forward to collaborations and conversations on how to better the process, because we believe technocrats shouldn't be outside the scene, and we wish you just the very best, sir.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. That's where we draw the curtains on this episode of the Sons of the Soil State Affairs. Join us again next week for another interesting conversation. I am your host, Malau Sylvanus. Bye-bye.
Amsons Media Studio is located at number 75 Tado House, Rayfield Jaws, beside St. Finbar's Catholic Church. For booking, advertisement, and sponsorship, call us on 081 0769 2770. Send us an email at info@amsons.ng. You can also make purchase and orders through our website at www.amsons.ng. If you need it done, come to Amsons.